As the words of Napoleon Bonaparte, and I quote, "I drink champagne when I win to celebrate, and I drink champagne when I lose to console myself." Champagne is the name of the world's most famous sparkling wine, the appellation under which it is sold and the French wine region it comes from. So ladies and gentlemen, get ready to sip on the essence of opulence as we explore the story, the legacy, and the unparalleled craftsmanship that makes Deutz a true icon in the world of champagne. Today, we have the privilege of welcoming a true luminary in the champagne industry, a titan with nearly 5 decades of dedication to the art of winemaking, the former chairman and CEO of Deutz, Fabrice Rosset. Ladies and gentlemen, please raise your glasses to excellence, to tradition, and to the extraordinary journey that awaits at the House of Deutz. Welcome to Oris Erhuero. Good morning, Fabrice. Welcome.
Good morning, Oris. Welcome to Champagne Deutz.
Oh, thank you very much. I think the last few times I was there, you really gave me a wonderful tour of that. I like to say the Deutz, the House of Deutz. So Fabrice Rosset has been around for a very long time, as you all know. He's been in the champagne world. I would say almost 50 years and more in the game itself. That being said, Fabrice, you started out at another champagne house before this.
First of all, yes, it's now more than 49 years in the champagne business. And Oris, I was also born in Épernay, in the city of Épernay, which is a mile throw from where we are here in Haï. And I started in the champagne business because obviously it was very attractive, and I guess I had the love for champagne at a very young age. I joined a company by the name of Louis Rodoer, and in that company, which is a beautiful brand, obviously a beautiful company, produces very wonderful champagnes. In that group, we embarked on a series of investments. That sounds very business driven, but it's more the passion for champagne again. And there was this little gem here in Haï called Champagne Deutz, which had gone through the vicissitudes of life, if you will, and had to get the support of another of a friendly house. So that took place in 1993, and it was again that sleeping beauty. I was very enthusiastic about the move and the acquisition, if you will, from a family. It was a family-owned company, which made. Embarked on a new venture with another family-owned company. So, philosophy were identical and common values. So to me, that was extremely overwhelming and challenging at the same time.
Wow. You were there for 22 years. And finally, you're very humble here, finally achieving the title of vice president. And in 1996, you took over operations at Deutz. What was that for you? Was it very difficult? Because these are small family houses. What was that like coming from, Roger to?
Right. There are two angles, with which we can look at this situation. One for purely business, and that company, that beautiful company, Champagne Deutz, was in a bad situation that can happen to good people, to good companies. And remember that the first half of the 90s, there was the Gulf War, there was the world economy was bad, and also the company was faced, and again, it can happen to anybody, investments and which were not as rosy as one would have expected. So it was very challenging, but to me, I was looking obviously at the positive aspect, and what I was, to me, Champagne Deutz had always been a pride for the champagne industry. So I was looking at Champagne Deutz as a wonderful opportunity to restore the values, to put it back on its feet, so to speak. And at the same time, it was a personal, a very exciting challenge. So with a wonderful asset, because the image of Champagne Deutz again went through these ups and downs. But remember, Oris, you kindly remembered us that Champagne Deutz was one of the founders of the famous syndicate of Grande Marque in Champagne. And in the 19th century, Deutz was shining, especially in the UK. I mean, if we talk about the UK, there was no major event and official event without Champagne Deutz being served at that time. The Jubilee of Queen Victoria, that was, in 1985 and 1918, I beg your pardon, 1887 and 89, the brand was in the hands of Lord Parkington. And this wonderful man built an image for Deutz in the UK, which was just second to none. So again, beautiful assets. And I guess that the Sleeping Beauty just needed to receive the keys from not from me, but from an entire team and the very talented team I have around me.
Wow. You know, you've been born in Epinay, somewhere your home, somewhere I've been blessed to have been myself several times.
Mm-hmm.
How has would you say, how has the champagne from your childhood, how has the business from your childhood to now changed? What's happened? What would you say it's?
Well, obviously, champagne, since over the last 200 years, has been at the peak of that pyramid in the world of sparkling wines. I guess we constantly say that champagne is the king of wines and the wines for the kings. And I believe that was champagne already had that image when I was when I was young. But still, I believe that the champagne within the universe of wine and sparkling wine has constantly moved up the ladder. For several reasons. Obviously, we do pay attention to the environment, to viticultural practices, and there has been a constant breakthrough in all these fields, in all these domains, winemaking, viticulture. So to me, champagne is better than ever before. It has constantly improved the quality, and also we also have a champagne committee, which is the umbrella, if you will, for all producers, which has done a sterling job in the different domains, and including the protection of the appellation champagne, because once in a while, I would say, if we talk about figures, about acreage, I would probably say champagne, because once in a while there is a confusion on this planet about champagne, but obviously champagne is a sparkling wine, but not all sparkling wines are champagne.
I am very happy you mentioned that.
Uh, and I think it's very, very imperative that we make that distinction very, very clear. Apple do champagne, champagne, champagne. I think it's very important that the world knows that it's a region. And can you make that distinction, you personally, who grew up in that region, the big difference? Because it's very strange when you hear other people say the word champagne and you have to correct them and go, no, that was not grown. Those grapes were not grown in the Champagne region. Please, that is not champagne. That's sparkling wine. If you, of all people, can make that distinction, would be amazing. Because I don't think a lot of people know that.
Absolutely, and once in a while you would hear not only actually in foreign markets, but also some, once in a while, even here in France, people not in the Champagne region, obviously, but people would refer to it champagne from Italy or from California, and obviously that's the wrong way to say it, because, and don't misunderstand me, uh, I've tasted wonderful sparkling wines from different countries, from New Zealand, from California, and actually in our group we are very much involved, and we do have vineyards in different countries, and where we also produce sparkling wine according to the same method that we have here. But obviously, it's all about terroir, microclimates, and different soil, subsoil. And at the end of the day, obviously, given all these different parameters, that you can find similarities. And I know that in the UK there are very good terroirs for sparkling wine, but obviously the fruit is bound to be different. So the sparkling wine is bound to be different. Thank God. I mean, champagne has its unique characteristics, and that's always will be.
Wow. Thank you for that. It's always a pleasure being around you when you describe it and you make it very, very clear. And I know you are, and thank you for clarifying it. You're also involved in helping other regions around the world, especially California. I do believe you are also on board and on the winemakings. So which brings us to our first champagne of
Mhm.
the day.
Of course.
Interested because you and I are in morning time in France and London. So this is
Perfect
our
time to,
business.
and
So
I'm getting thirsty.
yes, yes, you are. So what are we starting with?
Well, I suggest we would start with the Deutz Brut Classic. Uh, in Champagne, Oris, um, what I'm going to say applies for the whole of the champagne industry.
Mhm.
93% is bears no date, no vintage on the label. That's what we call
Mm,
non-vintage. At Deutz, I would
mm.
probably more refer to multi-vintage, and I will explain why in a few minutes. Let us open that bottle first.
Mhm.
The Brut Classic. Yes.
Voila.
Voila. Um, just have a look, Oris, at the specific bottle shape. Deutz has
Yes.
been using that bottle shape, which resembles very, very much what was used, in the 19th century. As you see, it's not a traditional champenois bottle. It's something that is exclusive to Deutz, and I will explain also why this also makes a difference or distinguishes Champagne Deutz from its not competition. For God's sake, the word doesn't exist here. We only have
Mm,
colleagues. The Brut Classic Oris is
yes.
probably the calling card for Champagne Deutz. It reflects the DNA, as the marketing people would say. In other words, non-vintage means combination of several vintages. Remember that here We are located 130 kilometers from northeast from Paris, as you well know. So that, in other words, we are located north in the north of France. The climate is not even. We have these ups and downs, and once in a while, Mother Nature is not that good to us, and we have to live with that. So the thing is to put aside, when the crop is good, where it's bountiful, where it's big, we would put aside a certain amount of wine, and that we will use in the subsequent years to make up for any deficit, so to speak, in terms of characteristics. So it's very important to keep these back years, what we call here the vin de réserve, just to make sure that we have consistent level of quality, and probably more importantly, a consistent style. That's very important. To give you an idea on this Brut Classic here, which we'll taste together in a few seconds. We produce at Champagne Deutz a little bit more than 2 million bottles of this Brut Classic, and we have in bulk as a vin de réserve, again to make sure about the consistency, we have the equivalent in vats of 1 million bottles. So it's that shows the commitment, if you will, and how serious we are on the non-vintage side, multi-vintage. So the Brut Classic, what do we have in here? Well, on the nose we have a beautiful aromas. It's flowery, it's fruit and flower, and obviously right off the bat you can see that it's very ripe. I'm sorry. Yes.
Apple.
Apple, absolutely, and ripe apple, white flowers, and I guess that we have right off the bat, as I said, we already. It reflects the elegance that we are looking for, and which will be the common denominator in all the cuvées that Deutz produces. Today we'll be tasting 5, Oris, but at Deutz we produce 14, 1-4. So, yes, so it's a very wide spectrum of different styles. But the common denominator, to me, wine must reflect or have this power, complexity, finesse, elegance, possibly seduction, and I believe that the style of Deutz would reflect what I'm trying to say here. So. If you have a sip, the first sip, the entry is extremely elegant. I will read seductive.
Yes.
And the texture has a lot of finesse. The balance is good. Entry, mid palate, and finish, where something that doesn't do these ups and downs. You have a constant line here. And the finish is relatively complex. It's not the most complex wine that we have in our range, but it's a wine of harmony. So how do we do this? Apart from the blend from several years, we have obviously the blend of the varietals. Remember that we grow here mostly. In some instances, people would say it's limited to 3 varietals: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier. Well, actually, officially, we have more than that. We have 7. Well, actually, now experimenting also under the umbrella of the Comité Champagne, where there is a 8 varietal, which is called Voltis, that we can also use. But in the Brut Classic, we have only the 3: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. And each Nothing is written in stone, as you understand. It varies according to the characteristics of the different vintages, the different crops, the different harvests. But it's typically 1/3 of each. The Pinot Noir brings the fruit and a certain amount of structure. The Pinot Meunier, which you were referring to my 49 years, half a century in the champagne business. I, you know, when I started, the Pinot Meunier was a sort of a forgotten child. In other words, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay was referred to as noble grapes, and Pinot Meunier was not. As a consequence, a number of champenois in the old days were a little bit shy on the fact that they were using Pinot Meunier. Deutz has never been shy on the fact that there is in this one, in the Brut Classic, 1/3 of Pinot Meunier. Excellent Pinot Meunier grown around Épernay, the village of Pierry, where the Pinot Meunier would deliver or would bring suppleness. It's a touch of rusticity, not in the negative sense, not at all, but something that also helps to put everything together. So it's a good in terms of winemaking, and not only that. I mean, the fruit is wonderful too. In the good years, it's wonderful. So 1/3 of each again, and we achieve what I was trying to say in terms of harmony, elegance, and seduction.
Because it's very consistent. The consistency is amazing. Even as it's the same from the moment you drink it all the way, and it's almost like a consistent conversation. So I can see that's the reason I asked you, because these markets you mentioned are very business driven market, and everything is about consistency. From Japan, Johannesburg, and you can see it. You can see the trend. That's why I asked that. It's
Absolutely. In the old days, Oris,
yes.
in some companies there was they would elaborate a specific cuvee for, say, the American market, or for Japan, or for Sweden. These days, it's more universal, actually. So, and Deutz has always had that objective of offering to the people who would travel and have a dinner in Paris, and the following day they would be in Tokyo or in New York, that they have exactly the same wine. So
Now, talking about dinner, I believe you would probably, based on my palate right now, you would probably pair this with fish, salmon,
yes.
trout.
Well,
Um,
obviously, it's a wonderful aperitif. But
yes.
yes, it's not only bubbles. It's, for God's sake, it's wine. So it can obviously you can organize very nice pairings with yes, salmon, carpaccio also of tuna, or ceviche, and also a fish in sauce, a light sauce, that is. But certainly that you can organize a very good pairing with a first dish of maybe not on meat, or we'll taste some other things later, which will offer more complexity. And
Interesting. And what is our next one?
the
I
next
believe
one,
is Brut
Maurice,
Rosé.
I
Yeah.
propose the Brut Rosé. Yes, absolutely. Um, the rosé. Let me open my bottle here. Well, I'll have
Oh,
plenty of wine to drink, for.
I love it. I know.
Uh,
So, as we open this, I wanted to ask you something. We forgot about also a very important element for chefs. Uh, what would you say? What is do they have any input? A lot of chefs in the restaurant business about your wines. Are they appreciative of a lot of these, the champagnes, and because it really helps the food. It really helps their pick of the day.
Yeah, yes, we constantly we are very close to our customers
Yes.
and customers in the sense that we obviously a good part of our clientele is precisely or is chefs and hoteliers and we listen very carefully to what they say. To be honest, none of them would take part in the when we do the blends and welcome to that crucial exercise of the blend. The blending process is so crucial. So we like to get the feedback from the sommeliers, from the chefs, and also one important chef, which is the chef we have at Champagne Deutz. Uh, yes, he's we have. Well, next time you are here again with us, you will see our chef Nicolas is an expert now, obviously, at pairing champagnes and different dishes, and what he does is just extraordinary. Yeah, to us, yeah,
Because the reason I asked you, because the third time I was there, he served us, and
absolutely. That's,
each course of meal, each meal we had a certain champagne. And one of the things I noticed about the Deutz champagne, they never override what you're eating. They complement each other. And I thought that was very clever, very, 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 very clever. Because not a lot of chefs uh, 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 are kind of maybe if they're older or they studied a lot in France. Um, Not many of them outside France can really pair with certain champagne, and I've seen it. I have seen it. When it comes to meat, it's very easy to say, "Oh, this wine from Burgundy, that." But champagne is a very delicate thing, and I was just very amazed how your chef, at the House of Dukes, was able to, pick the right food and the right dish, to go with.
absolutely. Well, that's
Yeah,
what it's all about in terms of
yeah.
haute cuisine, and that's very important because remember in the old days. Even if champagne was obviously excellent quality, it had that connotation in once in a sometimes that connotation of frivolity and not being as serious as a wine for Burgundy or some other regions, but yeah, well, champagne is a very serious thing, and obviously it's a wine. It's wine. It's and obviously it can go with different dishes, and again we have a huge diversity of different styles, and we can accommodate, and that's the talent of the chef to enhance the aromatic profile of any given wine and by finding the perfect pairing. And our chef is good at this. Well, now my mouth is watering. Um, the rosé, Oris,
Yes.
well, it starts obviously with that beautiful color. Remember, in the old days, that color was originated as an accident, actually,
Mhm.
when when the Pinot Noir, which is as well as Pinot Meunier, are both black grapes with white juice, and but at the time of pressing the grapes, and I will talk about grapes also because that's obviously very important there. When they were at almost with an excess of maturity, then, when you crush the grapes, the pigments could impact the wine. So, as a consequence, the juice was pink. And in the old days, we didn't know how to get rid of that color, so it was sold as a pink champagne under the beautiful name of partridge eye. Isn't that beautiful? Partridge eye. and and obviously it was a commercial success. So now we do that. I mean, for the rosé, we do that either by what we call the skin contact. That is to say, letting the Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier at the time of crushing the grapes in contact with the juice, so it will take that color. Or, and that's perfectly obviously legal in Champagne, we can produce our own red wine, which is what we do at Champagne Deutz. Actually, it's a combination of the two, skin contact and addition of our own red wine from old vines situated here in Haï and Mareuil-sur-Haï, those two villages, beautiful villages. You have been here several times, and you know it's the foothill of the. Ah, well, remember, it's those beautiful slopes now are classified by UNESCO. So
yes,
yeah, absolutely. So we're very proud of this. But more importantly, we have the perfect fruit for a beautiful red wine, and we would use, depending on the concentration of this this red wine that we do ourselves, we would put 4% up to 6% to get that color here. And honestly, like the story of the Pinot Meunier, that, you know, certain producers were shy in confessing that they were using Pinot Meunier. It was about the same thing with rosé. Everybody would be referring to the so-called traditional method, in other words, skin contact, as opposed to red wine. But there is nothing wrong, actually, by doing our excellent Pinot Noir, 100% Pinot Noir from these old vines. We much better control, Oris. We much better control, first of all, the color, and number two, the aromatics. So I have no hesitation in saying what almost everybody does actually today, that's this splendid red wine. Actually, next time I'll have you taste this this red wine that we use for the rosés. You will see.
I would like that.
It's a beautiful. I would
like that. Yeah. I'm smelling cherries, blackberries.
You have hints of blackberry, cherry,
pomegranate.
Very good, thank you. It's perfect.
A lot of red currants, maybe because my red currant.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of my children are at the stage now where they're eating a lot of berries, especially pomegranates. So I don't know if the memory of that is coming true.
Are you looking for a job here? I can have you at the winery.
You know,
come and join us.
You know, as you know, I have to also be honest, as you said. No time for stories here. I loved your wine so much that this was what we used to celebrate my wedding, as you know. And because I come from the whiskey world, I'm a cigar smoker, and so it's always been, and being born in England, we're about our gin, our whiskey. So you can't help it. And then when I did drink champagne, it was the inconsistency of a lot of the champagne in the market was a bit strange. Then it was my first champagne tasting at our cigar and whiskey club here in London. That's when I fell in love with Deutz. So it was a master class. I believe you or someone gave, and I said, I have to come. And I think the questions I asked so much was what led me to Epinay. And 3 trips later, I'm still digging, and as you know, the pandemic came in, but this is interesting. Can you give me more about the composition of the blend of this?